Cool.
Got you. Hey, Brent.
Hey guys, what's up?
Not much. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing okay. How's the world treating you so far today?
Okay. Got coffee. Been working. I work from home, so as I'm sure we all do now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I was lucky. I do not take it for granted that this is the first week in 10 weeks that I was able to finally go back to the studio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
It's been interesting, I can tell you that much.
Are you working on new Shinedown music right now?
So what I'm working on right now is I'm finishing up the 20-song double record of Smith & Myers. So like before the lockdown, before all of the pandemic and all of this, me and Zach were already out I'm in California right now. So we were in Malibu working on the new album. Weren't really paying much attention to anything else news related. Weren't really even looking at our phones very much because we were writing and we were recording and so on and so forth. Like Monday of this week, I was able to get back up to the studio. So 17 songs were done of the 20 before this started. So just finishing up the other 3 songs, and then getting my schedule ready. So with Shinedown, there's a lot of stuff with the Shinedown, with the new project, I should say. 2020 was always going to be a creative year for us. So some of this is not completely thrown a wrench in our schedule. But then again, it's not even about throwing a wrench in the schedule. Like everybody's on the same playing field. So this is a difficult one to navigate, but we're going to get to the other side of it. But yeah, we have a brand new Shinedown 7. I start working on that in July. Myself, Barry, Zach, and we all 3 go to Charleston with Eric because he's building his new studio at the moment.
Now, why Charleston, just out of curiosity? Because of the food?
Charleston is where Eric Bass lives. Okay. And so, I mean, the food's great, but the main the awesomeness that is Charleston should be lucky to have Mr. Bass. Let's just put it that way. But it's just, we did Attention in Charleston. It was time, during that project, it was our 6th album. But it was time for Eric to do a full record. And some people may not know this, but Attention, the latest album, had like its 2nd birthday on May 4th this year. The whole record was produced and engineered by Eric, and he was the main engineer on the album too. So we have Shinedown 7 we're working on, Smith & Myers project that we're working on. That should be out later this year. And then also we're finishing up, kind of touching up this show that we did last year with Alter Bridge, the last show of the year in December at the O2 Arena in London. So we're just getting all the visuals ready for that, editing all the audio at the moment. We're going to put that out probably pretty quickly this year. And then the big thing this year is the Attention film, the full-length major motion picture, which we kind of put a pin in the structuring because we don't really know. We're not 100% on theaters just yet. We're kind of keeping it to ourselves at the moment because everyone's about streaming, content. But we've spent 2.5 years on this project. It's just as much our baby as it is the director of the film, Bill Yukich. So, yeah, a lot of creative this year going on.
I've spoken to a lot of musical artists during this whole pandemic thing, and it's weird. A lot of artists are saying that because of the stress of COVID and everything, they're having a real writer's block right now. When you would think that if you're just stuck at home, you'd be like in a writing frenzy. Which way do you fall, Brent? Have you been a little bit more creative? Are you writing down more, or has it been difficult?
That's an interesting question, actually. I think that nerves and fear play a big part of writer's block, even without a pandemic. Mm-hmm. A few years ago, I had like a 6-month stretch where it wasn't that I couldn't write. It's just everything that I was writing, I just thought it wasn't any good. And people were like, what are you talking about? Like, this is, and I'm like, and it was just one of those things for me personally where I just could not wrap my head around that it was to the level I needed it to be. It's when you let those elements go and you allow those feelings like fear, anxiety, panic, uncertainty, use it. Like, use it as fuel. Don't edit yourself. And that's one thing I would tell, my fellow artists out there too. Like, hey, look, I mean, we're all in a very unique situation here, but I'm an optimist. I always have been. I just don't subscribe to any type of, I've just never embraced any kind of pessimistic thought process. I'm always about finding the solution, even if it takes a minute to figure it out. Like, keep calm and figure it out,
So have you written anything inspired by this whole pandemic thing right now?
Oh yeah, totally.
And do you see that as a wave of music that we're going to see, in the next year or so?
That's an interesting question too. I do believe that people, as long as it's genuine and it's written about these times, I think people will hear it in the song and they'll see it in the artist, the way that they present themselves. If you're trying to cash in on it, good luck with that. Because people aren't stupid to begin with. You know what I mean? If you're faking it, they can tell. The other side of that too is I think that people are not gonna wanna hear things about this virus anymore. There's gonna be a point where it's like, because people are in that frame right now, they're like, okay, enough is enough. We get it. It's bad, but we have to get on the other side of it. However, we got to do that. And you have people's moral compass right now. And then you have obviously the economic strain, because you have kids that are out of school, parents that don't have teaching degrees trying to teach their kids at home and what have you. You have an uncertainty as to when groups can gather larger than 25 people at a time safely. And then, as phases open up, like, that's how you're supposed to do it. But I'll be honest with you also, man, I don't know if we have the time for that, and don't take that the wrong way either. I'm looking at every single side. I know people that have gotten the virus. I know people that have family members that have gotten the virus. Unfortunately, I know people that had family members that have passed because of the virus. But people are going to, at a certain point in time, you're going to need to understand that if you want your confidence back, if you want your way of life back, and when I say your way of life, I mean our way of life, but our way of life, but better. Because all of these elements that we're looking at, how this has infected the environment in a positive way, how, just how people treat one another. And I've always said that I think that we're at our best when we need one another. But I think right now, people, when you watch the news, everything is about a vaccine and or a treatment. And I think the general public, just overall, they got it. They understand it. We get it. But how do you move forward from it? You can't shelter in place forever. And at the end of the day, too, you talk about having great minds and scientific minds, medical minds, looking at the big picture here. I know some people think about it from the idea of, well, we have the technology. Why won't they just release the vaccine? They say that there's 100 different vaccines working right now. Well, that's true. But they have to make sure that a vaccine does two really, really important things. The first thing it has to do is not kill you. And the second thing that it has to do is it has to work. And so, I've, during this entire process, the last 10 weeks for me, I have found a massive respect for the medical community and the scientific community. And the other thing that I've just found a massive respect for, because it's something that you take for granted, is people that work in an industry where what they do is necessary. I think about all the grocery store clerks, that were stocking shelves, making sure everybody had a safe environment to go into. All of the, the hospitals, the nurses, the doctors, everybody on those floors trying to maintain a level of not only sanitation, but trying to get this thing under control. But when you think about the military, you think about police, you think about all the essential workers, ambulance drivers, truck drivers, all these things that make the world run. And you take it for granted until everything stops. And it's like, okay, now what are you going to do? Are you going to work together to figure out how to solve this problem? And not only that, are you going to be able to work together in order to understand that this will not be the last, situation of this magnitude? I mean, I hope there's nothing ever like this ever again, obviously, but there's always going to be something. And people talk about the last time this happened was probably, they bring up the Spanish flu, but there were different kinds of things that happened after the Spanish flu. You may have just not known about it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that has been brought to the forefront. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, as of this morning, globally, it's approaching 5 million cases. That's 300,000 people have died globally. And when people start doing that whole, like, yeah, but that's only like 0.0001% of the population, doesn't matter. It's still people's lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. It does matter. And we need to be figuring out better ways to communicate with each other, better ways to respect one another. I will tell people this, though. We are going to get back to living our lives together, but we need to be prepared for what's next. Because just with this virus, they call it coronavirus. They say, COVID-19, and you have to really be careful. I've been very outspoken about everything during this process, and I have to really know what I'm talking about, especially if I'm going to talk about scientific things or medical things, because I don't have a degree. I don't have a doctorate, but I've been talking to a lot of men and women that do have degrees and that are on the front line working on this. And, just like this is essentially SARS, but it's SARS part 2. There'll be a part 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. A virus mutates. That's what it does.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be smart about this. And, the reopening structure of different cities and different countries right now, there's nothing foolproof. I think you've got some governors that are looking at the potential of a herd immunity. Some people are talking about, we don't know if there's going to be a vaccine this year. We don't even know if there's going to be a vaccine next year. And that makes everybody crazy. Like, it's just constant negative news. But there is good news out there. They are working on a couple of phases right now, I believe, from what I've read and researched, and some of the people that I know. I think we're closer to a treatment probably than a vaccine. And just like when you get the flu, and this isn't the flu, we know that, but, you have an option to have a flu shot each year. You don't have to get it. It's basically gives you a 50-50 shot that you pretty much had beforehand. But now if you have pre-existing conditions, or you're older, or you have something that's compromised, like your immune system, it's probably better for you to take the flu shot. Maybe. I'm not 100%. I'm not those people's doctors. But what I do know is that the last time I got the flu was probably like 2007, like at least over 10 years ago. And I mean, I was sick, but they gave me Tamiflu, not because it was a cure, because it's a treatment. It just kind of pushes you along and gets you over it a little quicker. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of questions being asked right now. Everybody has a different opinion, but what we need to do is we got to get like this, man. We got to really unite. Put your politics aside. This is affecting the entire planet. We need to move forward.
Hey, Brent, I appreciate you mentioning, the good news in this and taking the time for this fan interview. Before we get to some questions from your fans here, tell me a little bit about Atlas Falls and Direct Relief, because what you guys are doing to help out a really killer cause that was, I had no idea that it even existed, is pretty remarkable. Tell me about that.
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to put it all on the fan base. I'm going to put it on the public, because they're the ones that have been sharing out who this company is. Also, to you guys and girls at the station, thank you very much for letting people know about the organization and what Direct Relief does. So Atlas Falls was a song that was written during the Amaryllis writing sessions of our 4th album. Song didn't make the record. We don't necessarily need to go into that per se. I mean, we write a lot of songs when we're doing our albums. Just because a song doesn't make the cut doesn't mean it's a bad song. Maybe it just wasn't right for that time. But we always loved this song because of the message in the song. It's a song about humanitarianism. It's a song about, understanding that, once again, we have to be there for one another. The concept of the song came from Greek mythology and the god Atlas. Atlas was the god of endurance, and he picked a fight with the Titans. He lost, and not as a punishment, but more of a Zeus needed to show him that he didn't need to be so selfish. So he placed the earth on he placed the world on Atlas's shoulders. So the question became in the song, well, what would happen if Atlas was to fall? Someone would have to help him. So that's where we come in. We would have to help Atlas, if he was to fall. We have to unite and lift him up. So that in and of itself was always the message. When all of this started, like 10 weeks ago, 11 weeks ago at this point, like a lot of people, I didn't know what a pandemic was. I didn't understand what COVID-19 or coronavirus was. I'd never heard the term social distancing. So I just started to get on the internet, and I just started to educate myself on as many things as I could, just to kind of catch up and see what it was that was in front of all of us. By doing that, I came across this organization called Direct Relief. So what Direct Relief does is they're based in Santa Barbara, California. They've been around since 1948. Their sole mission, because they're not biased and they're not political, their sole mission is to get the medical professionals and the scientific in those communities during times of crisis, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's a pandemic, if it's poverty, anything that's a natural disaster or a crisis situation, that's when this organization goes to work. And it's just getting all those essential resources that those professionals need on the front line during that crisis in order to save as many lives as possible. So we contacted them. We were able to get in touch with someone there on the ground. Our liaison is a gentleman by the name of Samir. He's awesome. We told him what we wanted to do, which we wanted to take this song, and the song, why we've done it the way we've done it is, it is optimism. We wanted to put something out that would give people hope and would lift their spirits, that, just like in the movie The Crow, it can't rain all the time. You got to push through. And so they appreciated the idea. They wanted to see the structure a little bit better. So I said, well, what I'd like to do is develop a t-shirt, put a link on our website, and allow people to know that the shirt is all 100% of those proceeds are going to go directly to Direct Relief. So what we did was, and the song was a thank you when you buy the shirt. So if you go to shinedown.com and you look under the Atlas Falls link, you'll pull it up and you will see. I have this because I got it last week because I ordered mine too. So you'll get, this is the shirt right here.
Nice.
And go to shinedown.com, hit the Atlas Falls link. When you go there, the shirt's $50. We know that's a lot of money in these economic times. I think it costs $5 to make the shirt. The rest of the proceeds go to Direct Relief. We're now approaching the $350,000 mark. And it's getting, and it's constantly going. But when you buy the shirt, you get Atlas Falls as a download. Now, we did make an announcement yesterday about the song Atlas Falls. Friday this week, we are now going to allow the song to go to DSP formats. So all the digital services on a global scale will now have the song. But that doesn't stop this shirt in regards, people were like, oh, I wish it could have, this could have gone on longer or what have you. And it's, the Atlas Falls shirt will always remain in Shinedown's merch store. When you buy that shirt, whether, today or 10 years from now or whatever, the money specifically for this shirt will always go to Direct Relief. We've created a partnership with them. They have taught us a lot. They have really, they're an organization too, where you can go to directrelief.org and they give you minute by minute, literally like hard facts, hard numbers of like what's going on in real time, like how much PPE they've been sending out, what countries they're going to that day, what countries they've already been to that day, the amount of what the PPE is, just a lot of essential things that need to be done when you're on the ground during a crisis situation. They're just really, really important. And yeah, that's kind of the thing where nobody really knew who they were, and now everybody knows who they are, which I think is fantastic, because we work with the Red Cross, we work with United Way, Salvation Army, we work with DC Strong, we work with St. Jude, we work with a lot of different charities and what have you, and we appreciate those, and we will continue to work with them. But in a situation like this, a company like Direct Relief, they're very important for this, because they were here before COVID-19 dealing with crisis, and they'll be here after COVID-19 dealing with crisis. They're just a fantastic organization.
And we'll put the link and all the information in the description of this video down below.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. Let's get to some questions. Xander, I think, is the youngest fan here in the Zoom room, and Xander is a musician as well. Xander, I'm trying to unmute your microphone here. There
Got
it is. All right. What's your question for Brent Smith?
My question is, as a touring and signed artist, what would be your advice to bands that just released their first album? For example, I'm 17, I'm in a hard rock band called Persona, and we just released our first album. What would you say would be our next step? Like get touring or signed, or whatever you would think?
Well, it's nice to meet you, Xander. It's a little bit elementary in some ways. The biggest thing that I would tell you is that you write your own songs. Is that what you said? Okay. First off, that's awesome. I would tell you that you got to write a lot of songs. You got to write a lot. I've always said, like, write 100 songs, hope that you wrote 10 really, really great ones, and really hope you wrote one just out of the park, phenomenal one, and then repeat. The thing is that you have to have the songs first, because right now the touring side of what musicians do, especially right now, has been halted. Really, it's going to come back, but it's definitely going to take some time. So touring is going to change before we can get it back to like tens of thousands of people. There's going to have to be different sanitation regulations, all that kind of stuff. But for the musical part of things, that idea of like going in also, and when you have like you're going in to make a record or something of that nature, sometimes people will just write 10 songs and then they go, well, that's 10 songs. I've got an album. Cool. Let's record that. Not necessarily. You want to make sure that every single song on your record, that nothing is filler. Like we don't like the term album tracks. Like every song should be special. Every song should, whatever special is to you, whatever your hooks are, whatever style of music you're into, every single one of those songs need to be at the highest level for you. Because if your songs are good and if your songs are great, you're going to be successful. Because music is like air for people. I know it is for me. And I've watched music cure cancer. You know what I mean? Like it's something that as human beings, we need it more than anything in the world. It can give us confidence. It can give us inspiration. It can be there for us when we need it the most. Stay true to the writing. Focus on your lyrics too. The unique thing also with the younger generation, I know you said you're 17, is this right here. You have this platform to get your music everywhere. You know what I mean? You just put it out. And for real, you'll find that if your songs are really, really good, all of a sudden you may have something in your inbox from, a CEO or a president or an A&R from a record label going, yo, I really, really dig what you're doing here because these songs are dope. Like these songs are awesome. So that'd be the first thing right now. It's just write a lot of songs, man, and just keep writing.
That's good advice. Good advice. One of your cohorts in what was the touring business, Chico, the drummer for Black Moods, Chico, trying to unmute your microphone here. What's your question? And good to see you, Chico. We've known each other for a bit.
Yeah, Dave and Andy, hello.
Hey, brother.
Brent, nice to meet you.
What's going on, homie?
Oh, not a lot. Just like you, staying in the studio working. It's a two-part question, actually. The first part is kind of an apology. A few years ago, we opened up for you at Arizona Bike Week in Scottsdale, Arizona. And it wasn't our fault, but we felt really bad because we played, and there's probably about 4,000 to 6,000 people there. We were doing support. We had a killer show. It was awesome. We get off stage, and you guys are doing a changeover, and you hit the first song, and then the stage went black. And
I remember this.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
We felt like it was our fault. We're like, what did we do? What did we do?
You didn't do anything, man. No, dude.
So we were just like, oh God. But my real question is being with a record label for as long as you have, and I did some research and stuff, and you guys toured, and then were thrown right into the studio to, it's about 6 months. You only had to write and record a record. What was it like dealing with that pressure from the record label? And how did you deal with it? And how did your bandmates deal with it? And how did you overcome that?
That's a good question. By the way, we've got about 9 minutes left, so I want to get Brandon's question in from Pilot over here.
So too. I know that's a hint for me to speedy answer. The whole thing is, you get your whole life to do your first album. You'll get about 6 months to do your second record if your first album is really successful, which is what happened to us. And I got to be honest with you, man. I've been on Atlantic Records for 20 years. Attention was our sixth album. But before that record was turned in, our original deal was a 6-album deal. And Atlantic, that is, Julie Greenwald and Craig Cowman, who are, the presidents and the CEOs of Atlantic, because it's all under the Warner Music Group. So there's a lot of different subsidiaries in there. They've never rushed us. They've never pressured us to hurry up, really, per se, in certain areas. And they've always allowed us to be ourselves. So I've never had pressure from them necessarily. And I've always looked at Shinedown as a bit of an anomaly, not only in the music industry, but even in the professional side of record labels and what have you. There's a lot of people that have more horror stories about their record label but we just don't have those. There's always been a level of respect, and once again, comes down to the music, comes down to the songs. But they've never really pressured me. But I would just, once again, the elements of that is don't email each other all the time too. Like sometimes people are like, when bands get signed to a label or an artist gets signed to a label, you've got A&R, you've got these different executives, you've got all these tiers and promotion, this and that and the other. Reach out to the people that are at the top, and reach out to the people that are in all of the different levels of the record label, from the finance to the promotion to the marketing to all of that. Let them know who you are. Like if you're just a name on an email chain, they don't know who you are. So it's kind of up to you to be your biggest cheerleader also, and let those people at the label and in the industry know who you are.
Very cool. All right, Brandon, what's your question for Brent Smith?
Hey, what's going on, Brandon? It's super awesome to be on this Zoom call. You are my favorite singer of all time.
Oh my gosh.
I love Shinedown. I could ask you 1,000 questions, but just to be real quick, I run a small video production company, and I was wondering, do you guys ever have input? Your videos are also powerful and awesome. Do you guys write those videos, or is that something the label does, or how much input do you guys have on that type of stuff?
So a lot of times what happens is a director will commission for the project. So you'll have a song or whatever your single is going to be. That will in turn, be sent to that individual. And then you'll just get kind of like a stack of people that are interested in doing the video and what have you. To answer your question, we have 100%, as far as creative with the videos. We're very much a part of every single part of the process. We pick the director with the label, but we go through a lot of different people. And you can normally see, like when the treatments start coming in from different directors and what have you, you can see who's like putting the work into it and the ones that are just like phoning it in. because the idea has to be cool. The conceptual piece of what they're showing for that song, it's got to be something striking, and it's got to be something that you really want to convey, and you feel like it supports the song from a visual aspect too. Nowadays, also, you know, the days of making like $1 million music videos, like 3-minute and 30-second songs, and it's like $1 million. You just don't have to do that now. Like, I mean, there's just so much technology. Once again, you know, as I was talking to the other young man, Xander, about like, you know, this right here and this virtual world and what have you, there's just so much technology. A lot of bands and a lot of artists now are very hands-on. Like, they're the directors, or they put production companies together and do their own, you know, videos that way. For us, it's just been, we've been really lucky and worked with some really just creative people. And over the years, we've just stayed true to the songs and the visuals and what we wanted to do. That's a really, really good question though, man. Yeah. You just kind of have to not vet, but like, you just have to, whoever kind of inspires you the most, when you're reading the treatments, that's who you go with.
Hey, Brent, on that question, would you recommend somebody like, in Brandon's situation, you know, he's obviously a filmmaker. Would you recommend him do a fan video? I remember one of your management mates, the band Highly Suspect, when they released it, and there was a fan video that I thought was even better than the actual official video.
Yeah, I know what song you're talking about.
To get on somebody's radar, so to speak.
Yeah, are you asking me if like I know somebody?
No. Would you recommend a you know, an up and coming film producer maybe make a fan video, do something on there?
Oh yeah, totally.
By a song. Yeah, and then that way maybe you can get on an artist's radar, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the thing is that when you do, it's interesting. I saw something last night actually. It was just like a quick 30-second clip where they had taken some animation and they used one of our songs. They used a song called Unity, but the way that they did it was just like, and I find out like this is just like a teenager, you know what I mean? But it's like really, really cool how he did it, you know? So yeah, that's the other thing too, like the creativity that's out there, especially from young minds. 1000%, I would tell people to do that, and like try to get the band or the artist to see it, you know what I mean? And tag them in Instagram or on Facebook or Snapchat or even like, you know, TikTok, Twitter, all that. Like your social network too is a huge component. SoundCloud is a really, really good way, even though it's like more of like a music platform, but it's also like people go on SoundCloud and you can like sell your beats and your riffs and things like that and pull from that. It's, you know, that's amazing. Like that wasn't the case for us, you know, going back like 20 years. But yeah, there's a lot of creativity out there right now. I mean, look at Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas. I mean, they won 9 Grammys this year, and they made that record in their bedroom on a laptop.
Yeah, crazy. Brent, we've all been such huge fans of Shinedown over the years, so thank you for all of the music that you've put out there.
Thank you.
You know, music has an interesting way of setting the mood. And it brings you back to a certain place in time when you hear these songs over the years, right? Before we wrap this up, Andy, did you have any other questions for Brent? I think we've got about 2 minutes left here.
You know, I one of the great things about being able to do this with Jave is the ability to learn and to listen. I've been a musician my whole life, never professionally, but I really appreciate it. So Jave, no, the question that I asked, you know, I come into this not with, I don't come into these interviews with a list of questions. Jave is a professional and that's what he does. I'm the fan side of what we do together. And so I really enjoy and appreciate, number one, getting to listen to the questions from all of our other people on the call here. And to get to share a little bit of a moment with you, Brent. I mean, we've met in person a couple of times, but
absolutely
it's great to be able to kind of get some insight into your life and who you are. And I think that's one of the amazing things that Jave is doing with this series of Zoom meetings, is definitely giving the fans an opportunity to meet you a little bit, and maybe in a situation where they might not be able to any other way, and to give our viewers the opportunity to gain a little insight into maybe what I appreciate is your life outside of music, some of the charity that you're supporting, you know, and the things that you're doing outside of everyday life, maybe in the studio.
Yeah. So thanks again for giving back.
I appreciate it, man. Like, and I'll say this too, right back to you. And, 20 years doing this and, knock on wood, 20 more and 20 on, do it as long as we can do it while we got air in our lungs and we're strong, but we're pretty strong right now.